My name is Tommy Bolin. I'm a 30-year veteran in the fire service. I still serve actually as a lieutenant here in Central Ohio, where I'm also a paramedic as well. Back in 2016, probably between 16 and 17, was some really dark times for me. I really didn't know what was going on. I knew that I was struggling, but I didn't know why. I felt like such a burden to my family. I felt like, honestly, I got to the point where I felt like nobody would care if I was gone and I'd be doing people a favor. And it got to the point where my drinking was out of control, my depression, my anxiety was out of control. I'd seen multiple therapists throughout the years, but unfortunately, none of them were really culturally competent with were trauma informed. Mm-hmm. Everything kind of came to a head in 2019. I came home from a night of drinking, and I decided that was going to be the night. That was the night I was going to take my life. And I grabbed my gun. I went to my basement where we have like a little man cave, and I sat down there and I had the gun to my head. I actually had my finger on the trigger, and I was actually putting pressure on the trigger, praying to God to forgive me and praying for my family to forgive me for what I was about to do. And, call it a God thing. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, my college-age son just happened to be home and come walking downstairs and found me with the gun. And honestly, I should be a statistic right now, but my son saved my life that night. After that, honestly, I still didn't really go get the help I needed. I remember one day coming home, even before the suicide attempt, and sitting on the floor after a day of day drinking, and sitting on the floor with my wife, and I was just bawling my eyes out. She asked me if I was okay, and I'm like, no, I need help. And I was begging her for help. And God bless her, she wanted to help me. She just didn't, there wasn't any resources for family back then. This was in 2019. She didn't know where to turn. I didn't know where to turn. So even at that point, I really didn't get the help that I needed. I just kind of muddled along through all this. Honestly, everything came to a head shortly after that. I was at a golf outing with my son, who was actually not even golfing. He was a DD for Dad, because Dad was drinking. Dad and his friend, and Father of the Year. And I remember something was said, and I was dealing with a lot of anger back then too. And I remember just snapping. I went off on him. I started yelling at him. He left. I started texting him, and my wife texted me back, and she's like, listen, stop texting your son. The next morning I got to the firehouse, and I went back and looked at my text messages, and the vile things that I was saying to my son back then was horrific. And I knew in that moment that I needed help. I had lost all purpose in life, and my only real purpose in life was my children. And when I felt like I lost them, I felt like I lost everything. After that incident, I Googled, just sitting there at the firehouse, I Googled firefighter mental health. And the first thing that came up was the COE, Center of Excellence, IFF Center of Excellence. It's out in Maryland. It's in Marlboro, Maryland. I sent it over to my wife, and I said, hey, what do you think about this place? And she says, you need to go. I asked her if she'd make the phone call, and she said yes. So she made the phone call. I didn't want to get interrupted at the firehouse. I didn't want to get emotional at the firehouse. And so the next morning I came home, she goes, hey, I called this individual from the COE. He's waiting on you to call him back. Will you call him back? I'm like, absolutely. I called him after we got through a few formality questions. He said something to me that nobody's ever said to me before. He says, listen, Tommy, this isn't your fault. And in that moment, I got angry, and I was like, how can you tell me this isn't my fault? Like, the emotional pain that I've been putting my family through and the things that I've done. And he said, listen, he goes, you have no idea how many people are going through the same thing you're going through right now. I walked in the chief's office that day. I said, hey, listen, before you put me off on the calendar for 30 plus days, I had no idea how long I was going to be there. I said, will you allow me to go down and talk to my guys first? And he says, absolutely. So that morning I went down, I caught up at roll call. And like I said, in my mind, I had no idea how this was going to go. Were they going to look down on me? Were they ever going to want to follow me again, being their lieutenant? Would they think I was weak? And honestly, I said, hey, fellows, I just want to let you guys know. I said, my depression, my anxiety is out of control. I said, my drinking's out of control. I said, I'm going away to the IFS Center of Excellence to get some help. And in that moment, one of the guys looked at me and says, hey, Tommy, he goes, and he actually called me boss. He goes, hey, boss, He goes, we love you, and we need you back here. Go get the help you need. And the other 4 guys came up and hugged me and told me they loved me. And in that moment, I wasn't their boss. I was their fellow brother, and I was struggling, and they knew it, and they had my back. Shortly after that phone call, within a week, I was on a plane flying into Baltimore, Maryland. Actually, walking through that door at the first time, I was scared, but they were so welcoming. And it's crazy because as soon as I walked in there, they called my wife and let her know that I got there safe. And next thing I know, I got other people that are hanging around in there, just coming up and introducing themselves to me. That whole brotherhood thing, I really saw the brotherhood there, and coming up to me and talking to me and introducing themselves and just being very welcoming. And that's one thing I'll never forget. Is just, even in those short moments of walking through that door, I didn't feel alone. I had 28 years of stuff in my head that I really needed to unpack, and a 1-hour session a week wasn't going to do it. So for me, I had to totally just go there. It was the best thing I ever did, was to disconnect from everything. While I was there, the classes were good. They gave me kind of a toolbox when I got home on how to live a more resilient life. I'm not broken. I'm just struggling with stuff that I've never dealt with in my life. We tend to let our own egos and our own pride and this thing called stigma keep us from living our best lives, honestly. I didn't come out of Maryland fixed. Nobody comes out fixed. There's no magic pill. But I came out with the tools, and I came out trusting the process, and I learned how to live my life intentional. We've had the worst that humanity has to throw at us. We've seen the worst. But we still move on, and we still go forward. That's not weakness. So I tell people, don't mistake my meekness for weakness, because we're not weak. What we do, there's nothing weak about what we do. So we need to realize that and understand that just being a human being, if you're going through these issues or these struggles, you need to open up and talk about it. And honestly, sometimes people, all they need is just to vent and get that stuff out. But like for me, 28 years worth of stuff, I had to seek professional help.